Why is Trump winning so many hearts and minds? Is he really a conservative? Are his shortcomings worth the trade-offs for his strengths? Can he actually go all the way and win? These are the questions we'll explore today. Hello everyone, and welcome to another installment of Freedom Alternative Research and Analysis. Now, I've been postponing making a video about Donald Trump for several months now because I was either not in the mood or because there were still too many unanswerable questions. And you don't come to Freedom Alternative to see me saying I don't know too many times, although there is some virtue in that, as we'll see next week, I think. Anyway, let's start with the easy question. Why is Donald Trump winning so many hearts and minds? Well, because unlike most of the other candidates, he is neither a conservative nor a politician. Bonus points, he can at least project the image of being a genuine leader that takes no bollocks from anyone. Whether he really is that or not is irrelevant at this point. The chronic, endemic, cancerous political correctness that runs rampant in the cathedral media had made the political debates resemble more of a circle jerk than anything else until Trump came along. Do you remember the Obama-Romney debate? It was a bloody freak show. They were both competing on how to agree more with each other. And for some reason, the GOP establishment was surprised that the hardline conservatives stood home rather than vote for Romney. Lol. Well, Trump came along and brought with him two things. First, the immigration issue. Before you know it, everyone was competing on how to address the immigration issue better, whereas a week before Trump opened his mouth, everyone, including and especially establishmentarian GOP, was competing on how to silence any discussion about the issue more efficiently. That's an accomplishment of Trump that even his most ardent haters ought to acknowledge. The second thing that Trump brought was an unapologetic sense that the emperor is naked. Unlike any other candidate, Trump, through very simple gestures, simply disarmed the media. When he said, CNN? Or when Al Jazeera schmuck tried to catch him off guard with a question, he simply answered, you guys are out of business, and then walked away. These kinds of gestures that simply wipe the floor with the chattering class and the pricks in the cathedral media are of significant importance. In fact, they're of such a significant importance that the strongest supporters of Trump are a certain type of Democrats. This is explained by the New York Times, no less, and citing data gathered by a firm affiliated with the Democrat Party. This is one of the reasons why I don't buy the hypothesis that Trump is the Democrats' way of disrupting the GOP. I mean, why would the Democrats send in a wildcard like Trump that actually appeals to some of their own base and can, and indeed does, disrupt their own coalition, which is also very thin? Perhaps even thinner than the GOP's. It makes no sense. So, say what you want about Democrat strategies, but they are not idiots. In fact, I would contend that the strategists of the Democrats may be the only people in that party who are not idiots at all. I mean, come on. They got the freest country in the world with the most freedom-oriented populace to vote for one of the most anti-freedom individual in the history of that country. Twice. That's not the product of a strategy made by idiots. According to the same data cited by the New York Times, his second strongest voters are the Republicans, who are less affluent, less educated, and usually less likely to vote. Now, if he can energize that base, then the game is over. President Trump may actually become a reality. And it appears that he can energize that base. Now remember, he was polling at 1 or 2% not so long ago. He got from there to 24% and 7 delegates in Iowa. His supporters were disappointed, but the less passionate observers like me were genuinely impressed. I mean, I didn't expect him to be the runner-up. I didn't expect him to finish third either, but rather fourth, just above Ben Carson or Rand Paul. And most of that success comes from his plain language speaking. He not only makes sound bites, but he makes sound bites that matter for the kind of people that the most elitist politicians of both parties downright ignore. If he can continue to appear to speak honestly and speak in plain language, this ride will be much tougher than anyone would have expected. And I say appear to speak honestly, so we can move to the second question. Is Trump a conservative? Well, the answer is no, he isn't. He is right-leaning enough for the mainstream of Europe, but that does not a conservative make. But then again, there's also the question, should he be a conservative to be elected? After all, the leftists supported Clinton, who was nowhere near as leftist as, let's say, Bernie Sanders. The GOP also supported in the past Nixon, who, let's face it, didn't quite live up to the task of a conservative. Where I'm going with this is that Trump doesn't have to be a comprehensive conservative in order to be supported and to win. When he's on topics like immigration or the military or political correctness, he's indistinguishable from your average US conservative. But when it comes to things like healthcare, trade, or eminent domain, he makes the Democrats appear right-wingers, especially on the trade question. You see, the beauty of capitalism is that one can be successful as long as he serves his fellow man efficiently and is willing to put in the necessary hard work. Understanding economics is not a requirement at all for being successful in capitalism. And Mr. Trump has shown so far that economics isn't his strong point. Not even by a long shot. But then again, he wouldn't be the first president that doesn't understand economics. Also, more to the point, he gets economics better than Bernie Sanders, which is a likely nominee of the Democrat Party. Now you see why I avoided doing this video? So, let's get to the third question. Are his shortcomings worth the trade-off for his strengths? In other words, is it worth sacrificing the whole point of the Tea Party movement and allow socialized healthcare and eminent domain in order to get probably more secure borders, stronger military, and less political correctness? It's a serious question that all right-wing US voters will have to ask themselves during these primaries. Maybe it is worth the trade-off. Maybe there is more to lose from unsecured borders, weakened military, and chronic political correctness than there is to lose from socialized healthcare and federal ability to steal any land through eminent domain. Because if Trump delivers on his promises, that's essentially what you'll get. Personally, as I mentioned multiple times in the past, I only care about foreign policies and immigration, since these are the only ones affecting me somehow. You see, I want America to stay America, just like I want Europe to stay Europe and Senegal to stay Senegal. So far, Trump has been quite ambivalent on that, just like on most issues. On one hand, he's quite fine on immigration, but on the other hand, the open endorsement by Kremlin's ideologue Alexander Dugin is a red flag in and of itself when it comes to foreign policy. Nevertheless, red flag notwithstanding, Trump himself hasn't indicated big things that would cause me dissatisfactions on issues that I directly care about. So, as far as I'm concerned, anyone except Rubio is fine. But if there is to be a Democrat, Hillary is to be preferred to the old Bolshevik. At least Hillary can be compelled, which is my nice way of saying blackmailed, to do the right thing on foreign policy. Though her track record isn't particularly fabulous. I mean, can you spell Benghazi? Look, I'm only mentioning this to make it clear to both Trump supporters and Trump haters that I have no stake in making Trump look good or to look bad. So, last question. Can he actually go all the way and win? Well, it is hard to make predictions because so many things can happen until November. I mean, we only know the results from one state, and next one will be on February 9, if I remember correctly. On the Democrat side, Hillary's problems with the law can intensify and force a dropout, and the race against Bernie comes with a whole different set of challenges. Also, just as public opinion shifted almost in an instant from let's not talk about immigration because that's racist to everyone talking about immigration, other similar shifts can occur. You know, it's a long time till November. Nevertheless, I think it is possible for Trump to go all the way and win. For starters, Iowa has never been a strong state for Trump. Moreover, Iowa has been quite a poor predictor of both the nominees and the final winner. So the result in Iowa is not and should not be a reason for Trump fans to be disappointed and give up, nor is it a reason for Trump's detractors to sit back and count on an implosion of Trump. The game is really still on, at least until March the 1st, when the Super Tuesday is scheduled. So, with the Super Tuesday so close, expect a very explosive February. Secondly, it is very much known that Trump's support follows a geographical pattern, a very unusual pattern even by populist standards, but a pattern nonetheless. Which is why I contend that the result in Iowa and the upcoming result in New Hampshire don't really matter. What will matter for Trump's success or failure will be the results in states like Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Pennsylvania, and New York. If he doesn't do excellent in these 5, then we can seriously start talking about a Trump failure. As I was saying at the beginning of this video, Trump is a genuine wildcard. Since he is self-funded, he can do whatever he wants, which is another aspect that many people love about him. And part of the he can do whatever he wants includes running as an independent or third-party candidate. And that would be quite a mess if it happens. He has enough support to force himself into a presidential final debate, but not enough support to win outside of the GOP umbrella. In other words, candidate Trump without the GOP is a huge issue because it either hands the victory to the Democrats or creates further mess if the Electoral College decides to simply write off some of the popular votes, which they can do. They did it with Bush in 2000, although that was mild in comparison with what they would have to do now if Trump decides to go third party or run as an independent. Another interesting aspect to be taken into account when considering Trump is that he polls very good with non-white voters. Heck, even a chunk of the Muslims seem to like the Donald. You know, the infamous Council on American Islamic Relations conducted a poll amongst its members, and apparently 7.5% of the voters who pray to Allah would vote for the Donald. Ted Cruz and Bernie Sanders, on the other hand, have a huge problem when it comes to their appeal with non-white voters. As I was saying, it's complicated. So, bottom line, if you think unsound economic policies can be reversed at a later date and that immigration, the military, and political correctness are more urgent matters, then President Trump may be a solution. If, on the contrary, you would prefer a more traditional type of GOP candidate with all the perks and flaws that come with that, then I guess Cruz may be a solution. Or if you think it's time for some old white commies to have their say, then the Democrat Party awaits you, because nothing says progress and enlightenment than a race between two grandparents, one a Bolshevik and one a felon. Yep, seems legit. Alright then. Oh, one last thing. Seriously, please stop with the vitriol within the right. Seriously, Thomas Sowell is not a conservative for not supporting Trump, for crying out loud. Just like Ann Coulter is not a bigoted cunt for supporting Trump either. These people and others like them have quite a long track record of supporting what's right. And you know, reasonable minds can differ. Only social justice warriors can't get that. Come on, seriously, there's going to be politics after this election cycle as well, and those of us of non-collectivist persuasion don't lack in enemies. There's no need to make new ones amongst each other. Anyway, may the best ideas win, and I'll come back on this topic maybe after the Super Tuesday when more questions would have been answered. And with that being said, thank you for watching and supporting this channel. See you around on Freedom Alternative.